A Playboy bunny, a secret love child, covert meetings with a tabloid magazine, a lawyer turned informant, an election hanging in the balance, and a whole lot of talk about how business documents were labelled. Former US President Donald Trump's first criminal trial is well underway in New York. But if you're still confused about what it's actually all about, don't worry. That's only because it's actually extremely confusing. So let's get up to speed together. The New York case is about Trump's alleged involvement in hush money payments made in the lead up to the 2016 election, and most importantly, if they constitute election interference. There are a bunch of characters in this sprawling legal story, so let's break it down person by person. The core of the case relates to former adult film star Stormy Daniels. Now, as the 2016 election drew near, she was poised to go public with an alleged affair she had had with Trump back in 2006, which he denies. Now, the prosecution says that because the infamous Access Hollywood grab her by the pussy tape had just become public, Trump's team was extremely worried about Daniels' story getting out. True or not. Which brings us to Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer and general fix-it man, who alleges that Trump instructed him to pay Daniels $130,000 out of his own wallet in exchange for her silence, 12 days before the election. Now, if this really was in order to protect Trump's public image prior to an election, rather than, simply shield his family from a smear campaign, as Trump's defense argues, well, then it could be considered a personal campaign donation and therefore legally should have been declared, which it was not. In fact, Cohen ended up pleading guilty to campaign finance violations back in 2018 and served time in prison. Now a star witness for the prosecution in Trump's trial, Cohen says he was reimbursed via monthly wire transfers disguised as payments for regular legal services, which allegedly they were not. And this mislabeling of payments is actually what Trump's charges are all about. 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. This is usually just a misdemeanor in the state of New York, but because prosecutors are arguing it was done in order to commit or conceal another crime, in this case conspiring to promote Trump's election bid by unlawful means, they have upgraded all 34 charges to Class E felonies. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all of these. But wait a second, you say, if those are the charges, what's all this talk about a Playboy bunny and a newspaper and a fake love child? And that's a great question. But you see, in order to convince the jury that this was all done with the intent to influence the outcome of an election, the prosecutors are trying to establish a pattern of behaviour. So let me introduce our next character, David Pecker, the former chief executive of America Media Inc., or AMI, which runs the tabloid paper The National Enquirer. The prosecution say that back in 2015, Trump and Cohen met with Pecker, together hatching a plan to help with Trump's presidential campaign using something called a catch and kill scheme. Basically, having the National Enquirer track down people who were looking to sell damaging stories about the presidential nominee to the press, pay them for exclusive reporting rights, and then never publish the story. This happened twice. First, a former Trump Tower doorman claimed to have a story about Trump fathering a love child. AMI paid him $30,000 before looking into the story and finding out there was no evidence to back it up. Next, former Playboy model Karen McDougal alleged she had an affair with Trump, and AMI paid her $150,000 for the rights to her story. While testifying in the trial, Pecker outright said that the main motivation behind this payment was to help Trump's campaign. In fact, AMI have already admitted that this was an unlawful campaign contribution and paid a $187,000 fine. But the question for this trial is, how involved was Trump? Well, the prosecution say they have an audio recording from Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, where the two discuss how to go about reimbursing AMI for their payment to McDonald. However, the prosecution say that Pecker and his company ultimately declined to accept any reimbursement. In fact, they reckon that this is what led to Cohen paying off Daniels himself in the first place. Thus, while there aren't any charges directly related to the catch and kill payments, it does still make up a large part of the prosecution's case against Trump. Now, Trump, for his part, maintains his innocence, claiming that these proceedings are a politically motivated witch hunt intended to impede his candidacy in the 2024 presidential election. In the trial, his lawyer told the jury that, well, Trump was unaware of the specifics of the hush money payments because he left it to Cohen. In fact, his defense lawyer also stated that, well, there's nothing wrong with trying to influence an election. It's called democracy. Now, Class E felonies are the least severe form of felony in New York, but still, if Trump was found guilty, each charge carries a maximum penalty of 4 years imprisonment, with a collective cap at 20 years. That being said, it's not clear how likely a prison sentence would actually be, given that these are non-violent charges and Trump doesn't have a criminal record. But if that did come to pass, there are two things worth noting. One, neither a felony conviction or imprisonment actually bars Trump from running in the 2024 election, or even from becoming the President of the United States again. And two, these charges all concern state law, not federal, meaning even if Trump did win the presidency, he wouldn't be able to pardon himself. So there is a small chance of the US ending up in a very bizarre situation. And this is only the first criminal trial. In theory, we could have 3 more to go after this.